Hey, welcome to the homestead. So today I'm going to start working on a hay shelter. Basically, exactly what it sounds like. It's a shelter for hay. It's not going to be too big, not going to be too overly involved. I'm going to try to use all materials, reclaimed materials that I can. And so to get started, you can see it over there. Got the old pig shelter that I made. Saw previous videos. Pigs have thoroughly destroyed it. I've already started harvesting it a little while ago for bits and pieces, so I'm going to finish harvesting it to get this project started. And then we're going to go over to where the hay currently is stacked up on pallets. Last season's hay, which is all moldy, we need to get rid of it, just put it out in the field, let it do its thing out there. But that's pretty much where we're going to build this shelter. And like I said, it's not going to be too big. I don't really have a plan for how many bales specifically I'll hold. Ideally somewhere in the vicinity of at least 10, depending on how it's stacked, depending on how much material I have and what makes sense. So we're gonna kind of explore this one, see it develop. I've got a general mental picture, but we'll see how it goes as I go doing it. So gonna get working on harvesting that pig shelter. Like I said, I already started harvesting some, so some of this is just collecting what I've got. I've got a few things to take apart still too, but collecting them, putting them over in the cart and taking them to the construction site. Maybe give you a better view. All right, well, that was pretty easy. As long as we're in here, we can show you. So obviously we still got the two piggies. Couldn't get a butcher date until December, so they're gonna hang out for a little bit longer. Got to get over here and just get a lot of these rocks out. This is the last paddock we have them in. Here's the middle paddock. So between them being in here and was the sheep when we first got them. They had access to this area and they took down a lot of it back down, but we've got a lot of bramble to cut back and get rocks out of there as well. But you can see that first paddock over there is still pretty knocked down, pretty good. We've got some rocks to get out of there. I'd like to get in there with some grass seed, get some chicory and maybe goldenrod, just some good forage type material. So that's another day. Let's get over here and get working on this shelter. All right, so now obviously just gotta take this tarp off, get the old hay out. There's a couple pallets that I've been sitting on, and that's kind of what I'm gonna use as my foundation. And I'm just gonna kind of see how I want to orient everything. So that's it. to stop and do something, and I forgot to turn it back on. But I didn't get that far. So just got some 4x material, and I'm making 4 posts basically. I'm not worrying about plumb, moderately square, and they're not sunk very deep. I mean, they're basically just underneath here, something to give this a little bit of rooting to the ground. Once I have those posts on, I'm going to take some 2x4s and go up each corner. Going to bring some pallets over, boom, 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 on the sides, and then throw on some kind of makeshift roof. Probably not going to get this done today, so for me it'll be a 2-day thing. For you it'll be just the next part of the video. But anyway, that's what I'm doing now, is putting these posts on each corner. Got those 2 in, now I'm working on these 2 over here. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to get tonight. Got to get cleaned up and go to church. But I think you see kind of where I'm going. So I've got 2 2x4s. Those are 5 feet high. 2 in the front that are 6 feet high. So we have a nice slope to go off of. We'll put cross braces on each side. And then we can put some truss going down. And then some roofing material of some sort. Probably just get a sheet of, a 4x8 sheet of something plywood to put along the back rather than using the pallets, because the pallets that I have left are kind of and I can get a thin sheet of 4x8 for that. That's it. I'm gonna go do what I've got to do and get at it tomorrow, and you're gonna get at it now. So this is about as far as I'm going to get right at this moment. You see I've got the 4 posts on, the beams going to each side. And then we'll put rafters along, space about 18 inches apart. I've got roofing material that I'm going to be picking up some in conjunction with Nana's carport. So that won't be until Wednesday. So until I get more 2x4s for the rafters and braces and everything like that, this project is on hold. But it's not too far from being done. Like I said, put the rafters up, put the roofing up. We'll get a sheet material for the back there, and then probably just use a tarp or something that we can roll up and roll down, put some weight on to keep rain out from getting in on this side, and voila. If I've measured everything correctly, I should be able to get 3 layers of 4 bales. So 4 bales, 4 bales, 4 bales, so 12 in total in here, which should be more than enough for what we need it for, which is primarily for holly. Does that mean that we're going to be buying hay throughout the winter? Yeah, probably. But it also means that we're not going to be buying more than we need, which is what we kind of ended up with last year, where I bought a bunch late and we ended up not using it all, and a lot of it's gone to mold and not being useful. But we're going to put it to use by putting it out into the field, over the pig area, hoping a covering, maybe get some grass seed or some other forage seed on there and let it decompose and add back to our nutrients. So it's not totally wasted, but you get what I mean. It's not being put to use for the purpose that we bought it for. So this will be on hold. I'm going to go do some other stuff, which I'll make a video about as well. But this one's on hold until you go to this part now. So I forgot that I still have this wood over here, these 2x4s to harvest from the old hoop house. So I'm going to do that and see how much that gets me. I might be able to get a little bit more progress done on that. In any case, I got to harvest this. Okay, so got this done, all harvested. This is what we got here. So as you can see, some pieces looking pretty good. I keep tripping over rocks here. Some pieces have some obvious signs of rot going on. Not too surprising. They've been facing on the ground, and none of them were treated. But you know what? They're not rotted all the way through, and most of them, when they dry out, will be just fine. I've got all the in-between pieces here. I think these should be about whatever the inside dimension would be. So let's see, 3 inches minus 12, so 9, right? So there should be about 1'9" each. So we can use those for other things, and that's perfectly fine, because lots of projects where I need scraps, little pieces and stuff like that. So good wood still for the most part, even the parts that have a little bit of rot. And here's the thing, I'm going to use those pieces for my rafters on the shelter, and here's the reason why. That's not going to be a long-term hay storage solution for us. That's going to be so that we can have hay through this winter while I redo Holly's shelter, which I'm going to try making into more of a classic barn, stable type situation with a loft area for hay storage. I just wanted to have something to get through this season at least, in that where we could have dry hay storage. So I don't need this to be a super long lasting structure. I need it to be something that will hold the sheet metal on top and keep rain and maybe snow off of it during the winter, and may last one season and a half, if that. So gonna head back over and see if I can make a little bit more progress. It's getting close on time though, because I've got to take the girls to gymnastics and dance, and I've got some other things I gotta do in town, including get some more material. But I have to get less material now that I've harvested this. Always repurpose material if you can. Okay, so getting back at it, I've got some roofing panels now. We have the 2x4s that we harvested for the rafters, and now we're gonna get into cutting them. I was gonna get some hurricane ties and just use that to attach the rafters, but I decided, why spend the money? I mean, they're not that expensive, but why spend the money if you don't have to? So I'm gonna bird mount them, which I've done in other videos, but I can show you on this too. All a bird mount is you take your rafter, okay? So this is just a 1x4, so it's not what I'm using, but you put it up here and you make a cut to wherever your beam is going to be, such that it sits flush. So instead of coming in at an angle, so imagine my arm here is the beam that sits on. Instead of coming in on that angle, it will have a little notch out so that it sits flush on there. And we'll show you how to get that. Now obviously, I haven't been worrying about making anything square or plumb. So what we're gonna have to do first is kind of get some measurements to go off of. The way that I do that when I build stuff like this is I go on the bottom where I've anchored these in, and I get the measurement here, and I make the measurement up here match that. So the distance down here at this part will be the same as the distance here. Now, that doesn't do anything for plumb, because you could end up with a trapezoid, right? So it could be like this or like that. That's okay, because I'm also going to do the same thing on this end. I'm going to make sure that this measurement down here matches the measurement up here, and if it does, then this measurement and that measurement matching, you still could end up with a trapezoid, and it could be leaning one way or the other. So as I put it together, I'm going to be taking my square, my speed square, and just kind of nudging it here and there to make sure that it squares up mostly. Again, temporary shelter, temporary solution. Things don't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. When you're throwing something together like this and you know it's going to be short term, I think personally it's a waste of time, especially if you're dealing with reclaimed material that's going to be odd shaped anyway and have some defects. Get it close enough to hold for the length of time that you need it to hold for. I know I just committed a grievous sin for woodworkers and carpenters and contractors out there, but you gotta make what you have work. So do what you're gonna do. If you would like to put in the time and make it square, that's all on you, and that's good. I'm not going to, and I just wanted to explain why. So I'm gonna get making my measurements, getting my cuts, getting my rafters up, and getting this project pretty much finished. I've got the backing for it, put it together, and then pick up some paint. All right. so I've got the rafters up. Bring you in a little closer so you can see what I got going on here. So here's your bird mouth cut. All right, so you've got your seat cut and your plumb cut, which is this here. This is your seat cut. I would recommend finding other videos on YouTube to show exactly how to do that, because the way I was doing it was kind of in my own head. It worked though. So I've got all my rafters. You're probably saying, why do you got those two so close together? And it's just the spacing. So the panels that I have, the ribs are on 12-inch centers, and so I did 2 feet, 2 feet, and this is a 9-foot span. So I was gonna have one that was gonna be off, and rather than miss one, I just have two that are close together. So I'm gonna get the panels out and start working on putting those up. Okay, so what I forgot is that I'm using sheet metal, which means I need purlins. Purlins are what go on top of the rafters, and that's what actually gets the metal screwed to it. So my rafter spacing, I didn't need to do what I did. Could have gotten away with one less, but it's up there. I'm not going to worry about changing it. But luckily I do have some scrap 1x, so I'm going to be putting straps 1, 2, 3. Again, this is a temporary structure. It's not going to be not going to be too much weight bearing. Even if a snow load goes on, it's really small, very small square footage area. It's not going to deform it, and if it does, not a whole big loss there. So I'm going to put those purlins up, and then we'll get the sheet metal. Sorry about that, battery ran out. But as you can see, I got the backing on, got all the panels up. Now I've just got to figure out a tarp setup for the front. A little bit higher on the sides here than I was thinking. So I might want to have the tarp wrap all the way around. Don't have this size tarp that I really want to use, so I'm gonna just take the blue one that we had on there and just kind of loft it up there, just kind of try to get an idea in my head of what I'm finally going to do with it. But it's done. It's sturdy. It's going to do its job, which is to keep hay relatively dry until we get the other more permanent solution done. So I'm going to mess around with this tarp a little bit, and that's it. So not exactly the end result with the tarp that I want. I want to get a smaller tarp, I think, but only like shorter this way. The length, the wraparound actually is pretty good, so I don't know if I can get a tarp exactly the right size that I want, but this is gonna work for now. Ready to get some fresh hay and put it in there. So we'll call this a wrap. God be with you all in all that you do, and remember, keep the faith, definitely keep up the fight. God bless.